Howdy, Nathan.
Hi. Hello.
Oh
Welcome
no, I'm getting like weird sound stuff.
from me.
No, now I'm good. Now I'm good.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. These little
Apologies.
AirPods have been finicky this week. Um, Welcome to
Hmm.
the First Best Habit. If this is the first time you're here, I'm Nathan Nolan Edwards.
And I'm Brooke Packard.
We're going to unpack the first best habit. Brooke, can you tell us what is the first best habit?
The first best habit is bedtime. Should I unpack why
Yeah, I
briefly?
think let's unpack it briefly.
Okay, because we can't get anything accomplished without enough sleep in our tanks. Sleep is one of the best free healing modalities we've got out there. And there's a lot of things working against us, but we're doing bedtime every single night. So it's the first habit because it gets you to sleep. It's the gateway to sleep. It's the best habit because it's just filled with all sorts of delicious, yummy things that calm you down and center you and allow you to connect with yourself or a higher power or particularly those around you.
I love that so much. Both Brooke and I, we're not doctors, medical specialists. We are enthusiast cheerleaders looking to have a conversation and unpack some, fun, interesting things and get the conversation going, getting a little more awareness around sleep. So, with all that being said, Brooke, how did you sleep last night?
I slept great. Thank you for asking. And one of the factors is not only having my days in a good rhythm, but I give blood whenever I can. It's like the littlest, teeniest thing I can do to help, in addition to other stuff. And because there's always a blood emergency. And afterwards, I'm exhausted. I'm just like, I do it at the last appointment of the day. I can barely keep my eyes open when I drive home, and there I am. It was all good. How about you? How did you sleep last night?
Yeah, I think I slept the appropriate level of sleep for like my circumstances. Like the last 2 days of restaurant work were high stress, full adrenaline for like 6 hours at a time. Maybe not 6 full hours of like full high stakes, but yeah, it was a lot of running around high stakes of not knowing if we would make it to the other side, even though I always know what's gonna happen. But yeah, so I think my sleep was dissolving a lot of that stress. But without that, like my head hit the pillow and I was out, and then I woke up like, my body knew when it was time to wake up before the actual alarms go off. I did have a few dreams that I missed this call with us. Like I had dreams of looking at my clock and be like, oh no, it's 11:30. I forgot about Brooke. Um,
Oh, I know those dreams. I know those dreams. Holes. But so I want to hear about, because
yeah.
I think we're sort of informally talking about how to reboot your sleep if you're in a show, if you've got a night job, if you've got a crazy schedule that comes your way. And you had last week was a week of great opportunities,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
this is all we talk about, and you really had to pull like some major like sleep deprivation stuff to get what you needed. So I want to hear all about that and how you rebooted and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, totally. So for listeners and things, I booked this show last week, a very last minute of like getting the offer Sunday evening for a show that happened Wednesday morning, and I had no formal rehearsal with the rest of the cast. So just Tuesday was my 1 hour rehearsal, just me and a director in a little studio. Um, so with all that, how did I how did I navigate sleep? I think the first thing is like do your Welcome back to the First Best Habit with Nathan and Brooke. This is kind of our intermission part two, act two. We did our intros, and I'm gonna do my best to move them together into this video. Thanks for coming back. I don't know, internet issues, who knows? Low stakes. It's just Instagram Live. We don't have any paid sponsors paying us at the moment. Gonna see if I can find my pal Brooke Packard, and then I'll keep riffing. But yes, I do a show last Wednesday. Did 3 shows.
Oh shoot.
Yeah, I can hear you now though.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's really nutty. I don't know if I was on there before, like saying Mercury's in retrograde, and I don't have a lot of astro friends, but I still don't know if it's real or if it's like, is the collective energy like things or communications are going to go awry, affecting that. So anyway,
Yeah.
you were you were saying like when things disrupt the norm,
Yes. Yes. When things
even
disrupt the norm,
yeah.
yes, Mercury is very much in retrograde. Yeah. So like, I think you and I think I said this on the last call like 2 weeks ago or so that you have to have the practice in place so that when things change, like when you get caught on set or things, that you're ready. Like you're already doing it anyway, so you don't have to um, really change your habits much when it comes time for that like era where like if you don't get that sleep, you're not going to be able to function. So yeah, so having that practice set up already, so when a big curveball like this comes, and it's a very welcomed detour curveball to learn a show, do a show, um, and yeah, and have the energy to do the show. That it's not you're not starting from scratch or just like scrambling from scarcity. You kind of already know what you're doing, and you know different variables, and you know that if for some reason you're like not getting the sleep, that you can do something around get up, stretch, release a day, write, read, um, have your nice lavender scented thing or whatever relaxes you. Um, yeah, and I think just general awareness of stress is great. I did wake up a lot the night before the show. I think my alarm was set for 4:30 because my call was like 6:45 to be in Midtown. So it was an early call, and yeah, it was hard to get all the hours I desired, but I think I did a pretty good job. And then adrenaline kicked in for the show, for the first show at least, and then by the second show it had kind of worn off, so I was kind of crashing and feeling sleepy. And then by the third show, I was like kind of pumped up again. And after that third show, I was very, very sleepy.
All right. Yeah, and it's like knowing how to surf those waves that come your way, like because it's even, that there's I've been thinking about this like before and after thing that you're supposed to do to sell stuff, like here's me stepping into my formerly double wide jeans and I can put both legs in them. That's just not, that's a fallacy. I mean, great,
Yeah,
like great. I could really go on about the dieting culture and how to heal from that and all that kind of stuff. But, and again, we're not doctors or psychologists. We're just fellow creatives who love, the process of not only our art, but of all the undercurrents that come with that. It's a watery day in terms of metaphors. But I had chronic insomnia. It terrified me. That's part of my story. And I solved it with a consistent bedtime routine, which was what the doctors recommended, as well as a few other things. And, DM me sleep if, just the word, and I can, put you in touch with, my resource library and all that kind of stuff. But so I still have nights when, it'll come. I mean, sleep will not be my friend. And the next day, you just have to be friendly with it. It's like any partnership or relationship, with sleep. So there's no before or after, there's no hacks. It's just, that practice. And what you were saying before about knowing what you do, again, it reminds me of being a creative and our practice as our warm-up practices as singers and actors and even writers, that once you know that, if you're staring at a blank page, if you're staring at an empty room in the studio or whatever that is for you, knowing what you have in place to warm you up is grounding and also elevates your voice and your presence and your instrument on every level.
yeah, yeah. Um, and I think I had a few moments where I was like, oh, I feel like I'm being, I don't know, hypocritical to like the things I talk about with Brooke sometimes. Like there were times of the last week where maybe I had, or maybe not even the last week, last few weeks where like I had my coffee later in the day. I was really tired and I just felt like that was going to be the thing that could give me the boost, the energy, the
alertness, I don't know, but like I normally do stop coffee like earlier in the morning, like 10, 11-ish, and that day, I don't know when I was consuming it, but um, I felt like it was the right choice, and I still slept so well. But you know, if I didn't sleep well, I wouldn't have been like, oh my goodness, where did this come from? I have no idea. Like I probably could have, you know, backtracked and be like, well, maybe don't have that 3 p.m. coffee. I,
Oh, that's such a good point. Yeah, no, it stops it eliminates, doubt, and it eliminates like, what the heck did I do? Like all right, here's my really bad habit, my really bad procrastination habit, because we're supposed to unplug from screens at least an hour before bedtime. And you do have to ask yourself that question: do I want to watch that extra episode of Bridgerton, or Better Call Saul? So I'll like have horrible images, but such a great show. Um, and my really bad habit is I will listen to an audiobook and then play stupid app games, right? And with the news on all fronts right now, it's, I know my release the day practice is better to be done away from electronics. And there are just days when I can't do it. I just give in to the easiest thing, the least resistance, path of least resistance. And it's okay. I'm not being a hypocrite. I'm not, I'm just practicing. We're all practicing. you know?
yeah, yeah, and there's also something about like your intuition, and I feel like you know when your intuition is like that, I don't know, the angel compass guiding you to the right thing, or when it's just resistance trying to take you away from where you actually want to go to.
Right.
um I don't know if that's the best language for what I'm trying to say, but like yeah, there are moments where um you know, I just feel it, and I know that it's right, that like this needs to be my journey for the end of the day. I don't know. Going on, like last night, I got off the subway, I stopped early, and walked a few extra blocks because I needed a little bit of breath room time to release, unwind. Yeah, because there's been a lot of just constant stress of that little restaurant job I have, and I need to release that the best I can so I can, yeah, live the other parts of my life.
Yeah, yeah. And walking, that you have the same problem that one has when they're in a show.
Mm-hmm.
It's like everything's working against us,
Yeah,
right? I mean, against us in terms of sleep,
yeah,
adrenaline, assessing, community, bright lights, right? And do we say like, no, I will never go out for a post-show drink with you know, what's that about? I mean, yeah, it's fun, post-show, fellowship moment,
yeah.
you know. So it's really a matter of balancing, so you can just kind of shift over when you're alone or with your partner or family, your private bedtime routine, your ritual. And it doesn't have to be forever. It can be 15 minutes. I had this voice teacher who years ago said, um, as you're beginning, you need to practice a super long warm up. But once you really understand your instrument, you can do that in just an intention. I disagree with that on a certain level, but concept is an interesting one. Or you can practice it, since everything adds up to better sleep, like how we're thinking, how we're moderating stress, how we're moving, eating. I mean, that was the advice the doctors gave me. It's like, get up at the same time every day, get out in sunlight, eat at the same times every day.
Yeah,
And as someone who was in early childhood education, that was just not a reality. I mean,
right.
we would spend, it would be 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We'd be like, I forgot to do something today. Oh, it was pee,
Yeah,
let's go to the bathroom. But all those little things, it's like there's certain vocal things that I practice throughout the day and I incorporate into my meditation and all that kind of stuff. And it's the same with sleep and bedtime and just the attitude towards it.
yeah. Um, I like that a lot. A lot of things came up for me because yeah, we say things like there are no hacks to sleep, bedtime, and just want to unpack that a little bit of what that might mean because there are tools and habits, but there's no like super magical formula thing that's going to be an instant fix, instant you gratification of like, okay, there you go, there's your sleep. Um, we also have mentioned that you can't. There's no moment of like catch up on sleep. Like you can't just like there's no like bank account where you can withdraw and then all of a sudden you can like put in a big deposit. Um, but there are some days where when I have the hours and my body wants it, I do kind of let myself have that extra yummy deliciousness, and I really really like it. It's like maybe one Sunday a month, maybe two Sundays a month where I can. It's the only time that my schedule even has that much blank space, and I really feel amazing after it. And so I don't know. I just didn't want to. Sometimes I feel like I'm a victim to binary thinking or all or nothing, or like it needs to always look like this. And oh, am I trying to catch up on sleep now because I like got that 9.5 hour night of deep deep dreaming deliciousness? I don't know, but I know that I feel better afterwards and that I really enjoyed it. And I also know that it's not fixing that poor night of sleep I may have had earlier that week or earlier.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah, that it all makes sense. It's not, and that's why it's a relationship. It's a relationship between you and sleep. It's a relationship you and yourself and the people around you. And you don't. Yeah, I mean the judgment is nuts either way. The judgment is like, and it's just like, just step aside, folks. I got this. Like I had someone make fun of me because they'd made me lunch, which was lovely, and it was 2 in the afternoon. They said, "Would you like a cup of coffee?" And I said, "No, I don't have coffee after 10 a.m. Thank you." And they went, "Really? Really? What are you nuts?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not nuts. It's just a choice."
Yeah. Yeah. And I see the other end of that of people drinking copious amounts of coffee at like 11 p.m. And uh, sometimes it's in the form of an espresso martini, and they're like, okay, like I'm like gonna be alert and I'm gonna like be able to go and have a fun night out. But I don't know. I feel bad about giving it to them because I know, some people say caffeine doesn't affect me at all, but I don't believe them. I don't.
Yeah, no, well, it's sort of science. It's like sometimes, when the neighbor was saying, oh, they have their kids not wear masks for COVID because the science has changed. And I'm like, really? Germ theory? Is that a thing of the past?
Yeah. Wow.
It's just like
Um,
caffeine. It's got a half-life of 8 to 10 hours. It's just, it's science.
yeah. Yeah. What was that? 8 to 10 hours?
Yeah, something like that. I need to re-research that. Yeah, it's got a half-life that will stay in your system for a while. And there's times when you can ride that out, right? You can just like, all right, I'm doing it for today because I really need it, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's really don't dismiss the assumption, the science, because it validates your desire. You know what I mean?
Uh,
Like, um, look, I love a good cocktail. I know it messes with my sleep. I know it's really bad for me. On every level. I know that. So I'll deal with that.
yeah.
I won't say like, no, it's fine. I don't get affected by that. That's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah. I feel all of that. Yeah. What else can I say? What else can I do? So, do you have moments where everything's working against you these days of getting that ideal sleep, or any curveballs, detours, things you want to unpack?
That's a really good question. I recently had, I'm the parent of an adult kid, and they're going through a tough time, as almost all millennials are right now. Um, and again, that's another thing that we shouldn't dismiss. I see that all the time on social media. Like, you kids don't know. It's like, no, you have no idea. We have no idea. So that's been on my mind. That's been a worry. What's going on everywhere is on my mind. And in order for me to take action, I need to be rested. And sleep to me is the most free, easy, it's my favorite healing modality, which by the way is a great conversation opener, right? Rather than what you do. What's your favorite healing modality? um, so yeah, so things have been tough emotionally and mentally, and as a parent and as a citizen of the world and a citizen of the planet. Um, And that's why those practices are so important to put in place, the affirming ones, the healthy ones.
Yeah.
I'm going to post a quote on my Instagram feed, Sleepy Time Club, tomorrow from Matthew Walker, who wrote like the most recent definitive book on sleep, Why We Sleep. And it's about sleep is that bridge between despair and hope.
Oh,
So let's do it that way. Yeah. Um, so it's worth it to do that. I mean, and then, sorry, I'm rattling on. We have this little backyard, and last year I started a kitchen garden. We're having a huge food shortage problem. It promises to get worse. And one of the best things we can do for ourselves and our neighbors is to start being more resilient and growing our own food, whether that means participating in community garden or being an activist and making nonprofits use their yards to grow food and not lawns. Thank you. Um, uh, so that gardening is a great way to get sleep and get back in sync, because you're in the sunlight that regulates circadian rhythms. You feel like you're doing something positive. You're doing something proactive and planting seeds of hope as well as seeds for food. You're doing something community minded. You're in the dirt. There's all this interesting studies about earthing and getting in touch with dirt. In fact, I always joke I have like, dirt fingernails. It's like the dirt manicure. So you're learning. It's another practice. So yeah, I got off topic, but we fill our days with those little hopeful practices so that at the end of the day, we go like, wait, I did my best. I mean, one of the reasons I was so tired that I gave blood yesterday was not only having the blood sucked out of me, but it was like, okay, there's a blood emergency everywhere all the time. I've done my little bit today. All right, good. Now play some stupid app games. No.
yeah. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, in my workout yesterday after a stressful night, I don't know, I just asked myself, like, do you really need to lift the heaviest of things? And, like, ask your body to, like, kind of produce those same stress hormones to give you strength. So I, went a little lighter in my workout to just have a little more joy in my movement, and then spent a little extra time rolling my, like, upper back where a lot of the tension residually lies after a stressful night of work. And boy, that made such a difference, both in just the day that I had yesterday leading up to another stressful night. Yeah, felt like I was able to release the day, but at the beginning of the day, so I could have an open blank canvas to accept all the exciting things that can exist in one single day.
Yeah, because there's a lot, right? There's a whole lot. I actually had a therapist who, when she was a swimmer, I can't do that. It's just like, I mean, I can swim, but I can't do endless laps for 40 minutes. And she would do the Buddhist prayer, may all beings be safe, may all beings be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how she got through her swimming. And then she also did with her weightlifting. And she was in her 60s. She was older, than me. When she lifted weights, she was pushing the problem away. She
Yeah.
was engaging the sinews and muscles to push it away. So you figured out a great way to kind of like, instead of like, I'm going to lift the heaviest thing ever. It's like, no, I'm just going to lean into this. I shouldn't use that phrase. I'm just going to metabolize this, on a different level.
Sure. Brilliant. Any other thoughts or final things you want to share on, what do you do when life's against you? When the circumstances are not ideal?
Yeah, no, I have lots of thoughts, but I think we've covered a lot. I want to hear what everyone else says, and that's it. It was always a pleasure. Always, I love hearing your thoughts on this and your practice and how this is changing you. I think since we started having the discussions, you've changed. Yes.
Oh yeah, for sure. If nothing else, like doing different actions, I'm like, well, I'm gonna talk on Tuesdays surrounding this. So like, if I'm gonna have a conversation about that, like, who's the person I want to be showing up for it? What does that look like? And so yeah, definitely making more conscious choices. I think the biggest ones are of that making the decision to watch that next episode or not. Like honestly, that small little thing of like, oh, this is probably the time to stop. This is probably a better time to stop. And I noticed such a difference in those mornings when I made this decision to like unplug an hour earlier and start getting ready for bed. And then like by the time you want to be asleep, like you're already fully released and ready to go. And then the human I am that next morning is such a more vibrant, high vibing, exciting person that yeah, I like to be him more often and step into him every day.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it because the great thing about when you practice bedtime, which leads to sleep, it's its own reward. You don't have to give yourself a reward for that.
Yeah,
It's cool. You feel better. Boom.
yeah.
So
And in the last week or so, that there's been no watching of any episodes, so I haven't had any chance to like make that choice because the rest of the schedule has just been full, 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 go, go, go. But I'm doing my best. I think tonight might be the first night with a little bit of blank space. With Tony Awards just being announced, the nominees being announced last Monday, there's so much theater that I do want to see. And Tuesdays are a good night for theater for me, but also like this today is one of the first days that I could just make an effort to unwind earlier and get that extra sleep. And I think that's, I know that that's something I need to do. Ideally, it's 7 days a week, but I know with my schedule this week, today is the day that I can get that like gold star sleep 100%, like nailing it so much. And yeah, and right now with life I think that's what I need to look at, like look at those nights where you can um, get that really great high vibing ideal what you want it to look like all the time, um, bedtime sleep and all of that, and do your absolute best, do your absolute best. And like if there's some season where you are feeling fried, overwhelmed all the time and constantly, then look at the ways you can restructure your life because that's not going to be sustainable long term.
yeah, yeah. And we should have discussion about sustainable and regenerative, but also on those nights, stack your life. Get a great biography of someone on Broadway or a couple of plays hardcover and make that you're going to be it's going to be adding to your whole artistry and awareness of what's going on in the theater.
Oh yeah, totally. You're saying on nights like tonight?
Yeah, like I've got a couple of books on my shelf that are waiting to be read.
Yeah, brilliant, wonderful. Well, if you want more of me, you can follow me at Nathan Nolan Edwards on Instagram. Brooke is at Sleepy Time Club. So many amazing resources in Brooke's bio. Please check it out. Again, Brooke offered if you send her a DM just saying sleep, she will send you some really great, wonderful resources. Um, any other final thoughts today, Brooke?
No, just wishing you a great week and a restful week and a brilliant creative week.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. We will see you
Yeah.
for a special.
Okay. Ciao.